Coming up on Food, Health, and You.
Cancer is yet another epidemic we're facing, and research suggests that 95% of these cancers, or even more potentially, are lifestyle linked.
My cancer was diagnosed within 7 months of moving into my college dormitory.
You know, my biggest addiction was sugar. And you know what? Cancer loves sugar.
Cancer is such a big, scary word, right? But cancer isn't the problem. Cancer is just the symptom.
Studies have shown us that traditional ways of treating cancer are minimally effective in most cases. We are overdrugged and unhealthy. Something has to change. I'm Dr. Carl Bamlet, brain cancer survivor, chiropractor, certified nutrition specialist, and the modern caveman. I'm going to show you how to change your modern life using wisdom from the past. Cancer. It's that dreaded word which opens up a world of terrifying possibilities. What causes it? Who amongst us will get it? What can we do to avoid it? These questions and their answers are very complex and even more mysterious. Chances are, in some way, your life has been affected by cancer. Perhaps a coworker, a friend, or even a close family member has been diagnosed with some form of cancer. Like so many of us, my life was personally touched by cancer. At age 19, I was diagnosed with brain cancer. A pineal germinoma the size of a golf ball grew on my pineal gland in the center of my brain. I underwent 2 brain surgeries, chemotherapy, and radiation. My tumor was a germ cell germinoma, a type of cell that typically becomes sperm. What makes a future sperm cell travel to the brain and become a tumor, you may ask? This is the same question I had, and I asked all the specialists I talked with. None had an answer. We don't know what causes this to occur. So the first question we must ask is, what is cancer?
Cancer is the uncontrolled growth of cells that no longer respect the limits around them. So typically, cells, when they live and divide and die, will reach a certain point and then they die. The cell shuts itself off. That breaks down, so the cells just keep growing and growing and growing, and then they start spreading, and those start growing, and the limitations which normally are produced by the cells around them pushing against them are no longer respected, so they start invading local tissues.
Cancer is yet another epidemic we're facing, and research suggests that 95% of these cancers, or even more potentially, are lifestyle linked. They're what we call epigenetic conditions, where our exposures and our choices fuel genetic shifts. Our lifestyles, our habits are almost diametrically opposed to what we want to be doing to support good health and make it all the way to the approximate 120 years that we should be living that science tells us. So cancer continues to proliferate because of these accumulation of problems.
Studies show that approximately 45%, and some believe possibly even as much as 90% of all cancer cases in the United States are linked to what is termed modifiable risk factors, meaning things within our own control. What we breathe, what we drink, and what we eat. So in this episode, we'll investigate which foods may harm our immune system and possibly raise the risk of a cancer diagnosis. There are a vast array of food products which contain carcinogens, chemicals which raise the cancer risk. We'll expose these foods so you'll know where to look for them and how to avoid consuming them. We'll also discover some amazing superfoods, nutritious, natural ingredients we should consume every day to help us ward off certain forms of cancer. And we'll meet Carol Logan. She's fighting her cancer diagnosis with the power of natural foods. But first, a full disclaimer. We are not providing a cure for cancer. Sadly, humankind is still far from discovering a one-size-fits-all approach to fighting all the varied types of cancer we can get. But in this episode, we will arm you with some powerful nutritional weapons which may aid you in your fight for cancer prevention. Or, if you've already been diagnosed, cancer treatment. Our immune systems are built to destroy these fast-replicating cancer cells. Cytotoxic T lymphocytes and antibodies, two different aspects of our immune system, can identify and attack cancer cells. Our body creates cancer cells every day, and our optimally functioning immune system destroys them. When we suppress our immune system with a bad diet full of sugars and inflammatory foods, we are setting up cancer to thrive. There are three main stages in the development of cancer: initiation, promotion, and progression. A cancer cell can form from a wide variety of factors, such as being exposed to carcinogens like cigarette smoke or ultraviolet rays, or it could just be because of a genetic predisposition. But the promotion phase, where that initial mutated cell divides and a cancer grows within us, this is the stage where our lifestyles can have a direct impact on those cancer cells, either by being killed by our antibodies or by being fed and nurtured with our unhealthy diets.
I think processed foods carry the bulk of the burden for the blame of the predicament that we're in right now. In terms of the obesity epidemic, in terms of people's ill health, I think it pretty much boils down to processed foods. Processed foods contribute to pretty much all of the diseases that we're facing today. I think processed foods are the major determinant in obesity for sure. I think they contribute to infertility, cancer, diabetes, heart disease, stroke, even ironically, malnutrition.
We come back to this foundational principle of what did our ancestors encounter? What did we really eat before big agriculture and food giants and conglomerates took over and really took us away from foods that we could actually pick and pluck and catch? Those are what our bodies are adapted to, because we genetically have not adapted much at all in hundreds and hundreds or even thousands of years. Yet our food chain and our food supply is vastly different than it was just 100 years ago.
In integrative oncology, which is a sort of alternative approach to cancer care, there's a lot of evidence that diet is absolutely essential. And once again, you have the usual culprits: sugar, white flour, white rice, white stuff that gets sugar into the bloodstream too quickly.
When we understand that sugar promotes cancer, and we're sugar addicts, and we're eating all this processed food, and we haven't even seen a vegetable in a week, is it any wonder that we're getting sick? We're getting cancer, we're getting all kinds of chronic conditions. Chronic disease and cancer go hand in hand. Chronic disease can, 80% of the time, can be prevented. A lot of cancers can be prevented. And the reason that we're getting such a huge influx of new cancer, look, they're saying now 3 out of 4 people are getting certain types of cancer. For women, for breast cancer, it's like 7 out of 9 are getting breast cancer. I mean, this is like ridiculous statistics. Why is that happening? It has to do a lot with our diets.
There's other theories and perspectives on this, such as the metabolic theory of cancer, where we're actually damaging our mitochondria, we're damaging its ability to make energy from oxygen, and it reverts to a more primitive state where we actually ferment sugar as our primary source of energy, which is what exactly cancer cells do.
So the big lingering question becomes, what role does sugar play in regards to cancer?
Unfortunately, the diet that we're eating right now is very, very heavy on the sugar. And what I find is people don't even realize how much sugar they're eating in a typical day. They think, oh, I just have a little now and then. And when they start noticing how much they're eating, they are in shock. And also, they don't realize how much sugar is causing inflammation in their body. And inflammation is what's going to lead to heart disease and diabetes and stroke and cancer and all those diseases that are out there. So it's not just a spoonful of sugar, this innocent little substance. This is virtually killing us.
Some have called sugar cancer's favorite food. But our bodies also need sugar to survive. And we know that not all sugars are created equal. Natural sugars, found in fruits and vegetables, should be part of our diet. But simple processed sugars, like the sugars we find in packaged foods and sugary beverages, can lead to weight gain and chronic inflammation. And inflammation plays a huge role in the growth of cancer cells.
Sugar and processed carbohydrates produce inflammation. There's this concept in nutrition, glycemic index, which is how quickly sugar gets into the bloodstream from a particular food. The more rapidly, things like sugar, white flour, white bread, white rice, The more rapidly that those things get sugar into the bloodstream, the more inflammation that's produced.
Processed grains are almost 80, 75%, 80% or more simply just sugar. You know, the part of that grain, the overwhelming majority of it is just sugar. And so when we're putting that into our body, what is that doing? Is that creating health or is that creating sickness? And we know the answer, right? It's spiking up our insulin levels, it's decreasing our insulin sensitivity, it's creating inflammation throughout the entire body. It's not giving our body what it needs to thrive.
Carol Logan was recently diagnosed with endometrial cancer, a cancer of the uterus. And one of her very first actions for cancer treatment was to cut sugar out of her diet.
You know, my biggest addiction was sugar. And you know what? Cancer loves sugar. So I knew that that was something I had to cut out immediately. Not easy, but hey, you know, what's your choice here? You know, you just go with it. And it hasn't been that hard in the long run, because what I have found certainly is that the more healthy food that I eat, the less I crave that other stuff.
Coming up, we'll hear more about Carol's fight against cancer, which foods she's avoiding and which she's consuming, and she'll tell us how changing her diet has helped in her battle of a lifetime. One of the best ways to increase immune function and stop feeding cancer simultaneously is to remove sugar and processed carbohydrates from your diet.
I have noticed that many people are afraid to give up sugar, and there's an emotional connection to it. First of all, it tastes so good, right? But second of all, it represents, you know, when we have a birthday, we have a big cake. When we have any type of celebration, it's usually around sweet food. And so people fear, how could I ever live without this food in my life? And it's a very emotional thing. And oftentimes when they're getting the sugar out of their system, they might go through an emotional withdrawal from it. But usually I have found once it's out of their system, they feel so happy that it is not an issue at all. There's so much more fear about it than the reality behind it. I've observed hundreds of people getting the sugar out of their system, and I notice everything from improved skin, weight loss, energy, and the biggest thing is all of a sudden they feel like they have willpower because they're able to resist sweet foods when they never could before. And what they don't realize is that it wasn't their fault. Sugar is highly addictive. And when it's in your system, when you're in the sugar zone, as I like to call it, we just can't say no. It takes a while to get sugar out of your system, but after a week you feel like a different person. And so many times I will say to somebody, give up sugar for a week or 10 days, and you'll be in a very different position to make a decision going forward. If you go right off the bat and say, I'm giving up sugar forever, it's not gonna happen. That's just not realistic. But if you start with 1 week at a time, go, I feel pretty good, I'm gonna go another week, you will see you'll make amazing progress and you'll feel so good you're gonna wanna continue.
If we can will ourselves to give up or at least cut down on our sugar intake, our health will benefit and our risk of cancer will decrease. 42% of men and 37% of women will be diagnosed with cancer in their lifetime. Research shows that sugar and inflammatory foods give cancer the environment it needs to thrive. Studies done on rats have proven that sugar consumption leads to increased mortality rates from cancer. In a study of mice injected with breast cancer, just 33% of mice with elevated blood sugar survived up to 70 days, while 66% of mice with normal blood sugar levels survived for that same period of time. And astonishingly, 95% of mice with low blood sugar survived for those same 70 days. Another study showed that our immune system decreased function within 1 hour of consuming processed carbohydrates and sugars, and decreased function lasted at least 5 hours after consumption. In PET scans, we use radioactive glucose to image tumors because they take up and use sugar more rapidly. Now it makes sense why the survival rate for mice with high blood sugar was 33% and the low blood sugar group was 95%. Processed sugar is a true villain when it comes to chronic inflammation and cancer risk. But it's not the only bad guy in the rogues gallery of carcinogenic foods.
So a lot of foods that are not going to be particularly healthy or helpful for somebody trying to prevent cancer or that's with a current diagnosis of cancer are a lot of the same foods that fuel all kinds of other epidemics. So again, we're looking at soft drinks, we're looking at processed beverages of all kinds, we're looking at the boxed food goods with lots of additives and lots of food colorings and damaged fats.
We know processed carbohydrates, omega-3,6 fatty acid imbalance, trans fats, and food sensitivities contribute to this inflammation. What the inflammation does is wall off that portion of the body and the cells begin healing themselves and replicating. When this process goes unregulated, as with long-term inflammation, we have a cancer breeding ground.
When we have a diet that's also full of sugar and we're damaging our cell organelles like our mitochondria left and right from toxins and stress and not enough sleep and poor diet and inflammatory foods and inflammatory beverages and all the stressors of modern life that it brings, we almost have to think, why wouldn't our body break down? Because we're not doing nearly enough to support its regeneration and to support it and protect it from all these insults that we accumulate as we tend to be on this planet longer.
Soy is in everything. So it messes with estrogen levels, and in women that can look like a low libido, irregular periods, breast cancer.
Soy is such a big topic, and for a lot of years it was promoted as a health food. But when you look at our modern version of soy, it's definitely not a health food. Soy is a phytoestrogen, and it raises up estrogen levels. Now, that's going to have downside for both men and female, but we know in this country for sure that elevated levels of estrogen cause breast cancer.
Let's look at the 10 leading culprits, the foods most likely to push your body towards cancer. Number 10, processed soy products. Processed soy can be found in a variety of packaged foods. As previously discussed, certain soy products can increase our estrogen levels and make both women and men more susceptible to breast cancer. Number 9, microwave popcorn. Store-bought popcorn products contain artificial butter ingredients, and these chemicals have been linked to cancer. Number 8, artificial sweeteners. These fake sugars, like saccharin or aspartame, are known carcinogens. They are dangerous chemicals most often used in diet food products. So, best to not only avoid these when sweetening your coffee, but also when you go to the supermarket looking for low-fat or low-sugar packaged food items. It's better for you to eat a moderate amount of full-fat, natural sugar products and even a small amount of foods containing artificial sweeteners. Number 7. Farmed salmon. Fresh, wild-caught salmon is considered to be one of the healthiest types of meats you can eat. But farmed salmon, on the other hand, is known to be quite dangerous to our health. Why? As it turns out, farmed salmon contains many carcinogens, such as pesticides and even flame retardants. Number 6. Milk. Milk has been shown to be helpful in our growth when we are children. But many studies show that the excessive consumption of cow's milk in adults can lead to many medical issues, including cancer. Today's store-bought milk contains saturated fats and IGF-1. IGF-1, also called somatomedin C, is a hormone similar in structure to insulin, and high levels of IGF-1, along with high consumption of saturated fats, increase your cancer risk. Number 5, hydrogenated oils. These cooking oils, like vegetable or canola oil, are thought to be the worst type of fat you can consume. You can tell if these oils are in any packaged product by looking for the term trans fats. Number 4, French fries. Most French fries are fried in hydrogenated oils and then heavily salted. Fried foods are heated to high temperatures, and foods heated to these extreme heats tend to have high levels of acrylamide. Acrylamide is a chemical that is also found in carcinogens like cigarettes and industrial materials, and this chemical is a known risk factor for cancer. Number 3, sodas. Sodas contain refined sugar, and refined sugar spikes our insulin levels. Repeatedly spiking insulin levels has been shown to feed cancer cells. and sugary sodas contain a type of sugar called high fructose corn syrup, which has been shown to be carcinogenic. Number 2, rice products. Today's processed rice products can contain high levels of arsenic. Rice is the only major crop which can be grown in flooding conditions, but flooding releases arsenic from the soil and transports it to the rice. Chronic arsenic exposure has been shown to raise the risk of bladder and lung cancers. Number 1, processed meats and high amounts of red meats. Processed meats have been classified as a carcinogen by the International Agency for Research on Cancer. These meats, like deli cold cuts, hot dogs, sausages, and bacon, have been treated with additives and preservatives, and they tend to have a large amount of sodium. Research shows that there are far lower numbers of certain cancers in countries with low amounts of red meat consumption. Now we've uncovered some of the worst offenders when it comes to cancer risk foods. But, of course, what we eat or drink is not the only type of risk when it comes to the environmental factors for cancer. What else that surrounds us in our modern world may play a part in cancer growth?
Stress is basically the stimulation of a huge amount of chemicals to spill into your bloodstream. And it tells your heart to beat faster, it tells your blood vessels to constrict. It changes your physiology in that moment. And most people are dealing with chronic stress. They don't even realize it. They're tolerating a level of stress that's not good for them. Stress is in my top 3 factors of why people end up with an unhealthy gut microbiome. So gut health has very interesting intersections with cancer. I mean, first of all, you do have a ton of toxicity being created by having the wrong microorganisms in your gut. So I call this the human sewer situation, where whether you've done the antibiotic route or you've been stressed out or tons of processed foods, once you have this imbalance of gut flora, they're producing all these toxins that are now getting absorbed by your blood, having to circulate through your liver, filling up the liver with a ton of extra toxicity that it has to work with, and essentially leading you on this very toxic environment within your system. It's a perfect setup for cancer.
When your body's under a state of heightened chronic stress, you push your resources away from the immune system. You're not fixing and protecting. You're doing everything you can to get through that moment of stress and that moment of danger. So every day, every one of us actually has cancer. But thankfully, when it's working well, our immune systems identify those early cancer cells and eradicates them. But if all of your immune resources are being put on hold because your body is just pushing you through that next hard grinding day, we miss important things like those early cancer cells.
We have 600 times more heavy metal in the environment, lead, mercury, cadmium, stuff like that. We have 83,000 or so untested chemicals that are in everybody's environment. We have no idea what they do. In the United States, we don't have the precautionary principle. You have to prove something's dangerous. You don't have to prove it's safe. So we have all this crazy stuff, and we're not very healthy. Much more sensible if you actually respect human beings. You might want to find out if something's going to kill them before you start feeding it to them.
Getting your body as clean as possible, I think it's really important, and that does start with these bacteria, making sure that they're not producing this massive amount of toxicity. You can control what foods you put into your body. You can control on some level some of the toxins coming in, but if you have the wrong microorganisms in there, you can't control how much toxicity they're producing. So that has to get wrapped up. You have to handle it.
Your food should be healthy, delicious, nutritionally dense, and relaxing. When we rush around eating fast food or processed carbohydrate foods because they are easy, we add to the cancer picture in many ways. Instead of eating sugary and unhealthy meals on the go 5 or more times a week, it is time you relax with your food. Eating that food outside in the sunlight without sunscreen is incredibly important. We have all been trained to illogically fear the sun. The sun is responsible for all life on Earth. Without it, our world wouldn't exist. We need appropriate exposure to that sun, which our body regulates well. Besides vitamin D production, which is incredibly important, the sun is also responsible for hormonal regulation through light receptors directly connected to our brain. They are called eyes. Our eyes see the light, or lack thereof, and stimulate the pineal and pituitary glands accordingly. There is strong evidence linking low vitamin D levels to 16 types of cancers, according to a study from 2003. We have recently discovered that every cell in our body has its own clock that is regulated in part by sunlight. These clocks regulate our cells' functions, highlighting the importance of the sun. Vitamin D is the easy to study, easy to measure way to see the sun's effect on the body.
Our fear of the sun has caused more breast, colon, and lung cancer to happen because vitamin D suppresses cancer.
How many of us are getting outside and getting regular sunshine? You know, I live in Florida, it's warm all year round, we're the sunshine state, yet the majority of people I see in practice are low in vitamin D. We're afraid of the sun. You know, there are some valid skin cancer concerns, but sunlight is very important.
Cancer is just like a plant. It needs the right environment to grow in. Temperature, moisture, soil, nutrients, fertilizers, sunlight are just some of the factors that go into growing a plant. For cancer, the variables include inflammation, glucose levels, oxidative stress, sunlight, clean oxygen, chemicals, and radiation. For some people, inflammation and elevated blood glucose may be enough to develop cancer, just like potatoes, which grow in almost any condition. Other people may have to add a history of smoking, consume foods with lots of chemicals, be exposed to an excessive amount of X-rays or electronic devices to have the right conditions for cancer, just like cauliflower, which needs a long growing season, a relatively cool climate, consistent care, proper soil, water, and drainage, and a quality fertilizer to grow. Whether cancer grows in you quickly, like potatoes, or slowly, like cauliflower, one thing is certain. If you make the conditions suitable in your body, your chances of growing cancer will be a lot higher. In a moment, we're going to reveal to you what the answer is to treating cancer if the traditional approach of chemotherapy isn't working. But first, I have something important to share with you. You're watching episode 6 of the Food, Health, and You series, Fighting Cancer with Nutrition: How to Reduce Your Risk. I'm Dr. Carl Bamlet, and for 24 hours, I've put this episode online for free for you to watch because I want to help make a difference to your life and the lives of your loved ones. I strongly encourage you to share this episode with as many people as possible in the next 24 hours so that they can get access to the same life-changing information. While the series is incredibly powerful, it's just the tip of the iceberg. I'd like to invite you to join the Food, Health, and You movement. Our mission is to uncover the truth about nutrition and health so that you and your loved ones can live your best lives possible. After watching this episode, I recommend that you check out the link below where you'll be taken to a page where you can join us by ordering the entire Food, Health, and You complete implementation system. This includes the entire 8 episodes of this series, plus you'll also receive an additional 4 bonus episodes that are unseen elsewhere, yet will have a potentially dramatic impact on your health and that of your family. As an owner of the Food, Health, and You complete implementation system, you'll also receive from us comprehensive recipe books, transformational roadmaps, and of course those amazing bonus episodes, which are only available to members. It's our mission to deliver to the world the nutritional truth about preventing disease, losing weight, and adding years to your life, while still loving your food, never going hungry, and without harming your body. Epigenetics means we have our DNA and we cannot change that, but we can change the environment we expose those genes to and alter gene expression. The environment can be diet, exercise, stress, electronic devices, pollutants, spiritual or religious input, sunlight, air, or any other thing in our lives. That may be confusing, but think of it like this. You're playing a card game with some friends. Everyone at the table is dealt 2 cards. Player 1 has 2 aces, player 2 has a king and a queen, player 3 has a pair of 8s, and you have a 9 and a 2. It looks like you have the worst hand, right? If you're playing Texas Hold'em, you do. But if you're playing blackjack, you potentially have the best hand, depending on the next card. In much the same way, we are dealt our hand in life, and our habits determine what game we are playing, as well as what our next card is. There will always be the people who are dealt pocket aces, and lifestyle factors don't affect them. They win in blackjack and Hold'em, no matter what the next card is. Most people aren't that lucky, and if you double down on your 9 and 2, but you're in a Hold'em tournament, you will be in trouble.
So many people are sick in this country right now, and for most of them, the only answer that they see is to cover up their symptoms with a medication. Now, the problem with that is where do you draw the line, right? Because those medications create more problems and more problems and more problems. And because the medications never actually address the root cause of why that illness is there in the beginning, right? That illness actually gets worse. So most people have to take more of that medication and more of that medication, and they're on it for life.
According to the Commonwealth Fund, the United States spends a lot of money on healthcare, $9,000 per person, 17% of our GDP, which is twice as much as the UK, and 50% more than our next closest country. America has fewer physicians and physician visits per person than most other OECD countries. Yet we are tied with New Zealand for the largest number of prescription medicines per adult. You remember New Zealand, the only other country to allow direct-to-consumer marketing of pharmaceuticals.
When we look at how many pharmacies there are, how many doctors there are, it's so widely available. You know, we have such a push for more healthcare in this country. And the question continues to be, we have all of these people that are sick. How do we pay the bill for these sick people, right? And when the real question should be, how do we prevent these people from getting sick in the first place?
America spends the most on healthcare compared to other countries by a staggering amount, and yet we are not even close to being the healthiest country. In fact, we are ranked the 37th healthiest country by the World Health Organization. A recent study showed half of Americans are diabetic or pre-diabetic, 35% are obese, and 40% will have cancer. Diabetes means high sugar levels. Obesity causes chronic inflammation. High blood sugar plus inflammation equals a breeding ground for cancer.
American Heart Association says that 1 out of every 2 people will die from heart disease in this country. And we need to go back, instead of trying to treat the symptoms of that heart disease, right, with medications, if we can go back to what's causing that inflammation to start with, that to me sounds like such a better idea, right?
One of the reasons why medications are so popular is that they really just provide a quick fix. The medications provide this illusion that all is going to be well in a short amount of time. And although the body may come back to normal relatively quickly using medications, all medications have some type of a side effect, and some you may not see until many years down the road, but the liver has to process those medications every day. And so a lot of times we'll see people who end up with liver failure because of long-term use of medications. So it's not really the answer for a long life of good health.
As we spend our time and money searching for a cure, we are slowly killing ourselves with our diet and lifestyle choices, all the while covering up our symptoms with prescription drugs when at times they are unnecessary. Radiation and chemotherapy treatments are the go-tos for most any cancer treatment these days. But in some cases, can chemotherapy do more harm than good? More mounting evidence appears to show that chemotherapy is minimally responsible for the improvements in cancer survival. A study from 2004 showed that chemotherapy in the US's contribution to the 5-year survival rate was around 2.3%. A tiny portion of people are benefiting from chemotherapy, which was by far my most traumatic portion of cancer treatment. I was vomiting approximately 25 to 30 times per day, every 30 minutes while awake, regardless of if I ate or not. Chemotherapy is typically the most challenging treatment for most cancer patients. Side effects of chemo include lung tissue damage, heart issues, kidney issues, nerve damage, infertility, and it can, in some cases, raise the risk of developing a second form of cancer. Chemotherapy is, in essence, a poison meant to kill cancer. But in order for this medicine to kill cancer cells, it also must kill healthy cells. Radiation, on the other hand, is a more targeted approach to killing cancer cells. But radiation therapy, just like chemotherapy, comes with a long list of side effects, including nausea, hair loss, extreme fatigue, and the possibility of developing a second form of cancer. However, the risk for secondary cancer is higher for chemotherapy than it is with radiation therapy. My type of cancer, pineal germinoma, is responsive to both chemotherapy and radiation. As a result, a combination treatment has great result. That is not the case for most cancers. Studies have shown us that traditional ways of treating cancer are minimally effective in most cases. Carol Logan was recently diagnosed with cancer, but she's taking a unique approach to her treatment.
This April, I got a very strong sign from my body that something was up. I'm a postmenopausal person, woman, and so my body started bleeding. And then soon after that, got the diagnosis that I had endometrial cancer. They recommended, at that time, the regular course of action, which is chemotherapy and radiation for about 4 months. Well, we knew going in we were going to hear that. We didn't say anything to him at that time, only asked if there was any other methodology. Nope, that's it. And that's just not something that we believe in, We think of that as poison for the body and not medicine for the body. And I know a lot of people do well with it, but I don't know, I guess it depends on the individual.
Studies are now suggesting that chemotherapy, in some cases, may actually end up feeding cancer cells and supplying them antibodies to prepare against further treatments. So we must ask ourselves, when conventional treatments may end up causing additional damage to our bodies, what other methods can we use to heal our bodies? The answer, of course, is to use food as medicine.
I'm believing and I'm knowing for now that we are going to continue with what I'm doing, eating raw as much as possible, going more the vegan.
Coming up, we'll hear more about Carol's fight against cancer, which foods she's avoiding and which she's consuming. And she'll tell us how changing her diet has helped in her battle of a lifetime.
When somebody is battling cancer, you have to remember some things, and that is to get every toxic thing you can out of your environment and flush the body with as many minerals as possible. So if somebody's completely weak and down to 99 pounds, you're not going to want to feed them a whole lot of food. Stick to juicing, stick to broths, stick to soups, because they are on very little energy, and what energy they have needs to be to fight that cancer. Although I don't believe you can fight cancer, I believe you can only build health. And you do that by all the things that I just mentioned. Because once the body has what it needs, cancer's always in our body. It's just that it got out of control because the army, the immune system, didn't have what it needs to keep things regulated on a daily basis.
From a food source, you want to think about things that are rich in omega-3s, because omega-3s are our natural anti-inflammatories. And what kinds of foods are rich in those would be cold water fish. So think of your salmon, your sardines, your herring. For those vegetarians and vegans out there, consider maybe chia seeds, ground flax seeds or hemp seeds. Those are all great options. And then in terms of supplements, white willow bark, which is what aspirin is made from, is a sounder, safer, gentler option that can be very helpful for pain and inflammation. In addition to things like ginger or boswellia or curcumin, which is the turmeric extract, which is also potent anti-inflammatory.
Probiotic foods are absolutely one of the best things that you can possibly eat. Sauerkraut, like a real sauerkraut that's properly fermented. Kimchi, kefir waters you can actually buy now too without the dairy. But all of those are great fermented foods and really help with your gut health. And it's basically supplanting your whole intestinal tract with the fighters that are going to take out the bad guys. And we just don't get enough.
There are many wonderful natural foods with anti-inflammatory and probiotic properties, which can aid us in lowering our cancer risk. Here are our top 10 superfoods for fighting cancer. Number 10, tomatoes. Tomatoes contain the antioxidant lycopene. Studies have shown that lycopene may combat prostate cancer. Go ahead and cook your tomatoes, as cooking them actually increases their cancer-fighting abilities. Number 9, green tea. Green teas contain polyphenols, which are a wonderful source of antioxidants. These antioxidants can suppress cancer cell growth and have also displayed the ability to outright kill several types of cancer cells. Number 8, cayenne pepper. This spicy addition to your salsa contains capsaicin, a chemical which can help fight prostate cancer. Capsaicin has also been shown to increase apoptosis, the process by which cancer cells are programmed to die. However, there is evidence that capsaicin may also help certain skin cancers to grow. So consume this pepper to decrease your risk of prostate cancer, but be wary of eating too much if you've been diagnosed with skin cancer. Number 7, bell peppers. These peppers are not only delicious, but they are low in calories and high in vitamins. And most importantly, they have very high levels of antioxidants. Like tomatoes, they contain lycopene and can help prevent prostate cancer. Try red peppers over other colors, as red peppers tend to contain the highest concentration of vitamins and antioxidants of any color of bell pepper. Number 6, onions. Onions contain antiviral, antibacterial, and anti-inflammatory properties. They help detoxify the blood, lower blood pressure, and may help prevent the creation of fat cells within your body. Try eating them raw to gain the most nutrient bang for your buck. Number 5, berries. Try raspberries, blueberries, or even strawberries. All contain vitamin C, vitamin A, and antioxidants. These antioxidants have anti-aging properties and can help you fight free radical damage. Number 4 on our list is turmeric. This herb contains curcumin, which is considered to be one of the best cancer-fighting chemicals produced by plants. Curcumin has been shown to decrease the size of tumors. Turmeric is considered one of the best anti-inflammatory spices, so flavor up your meals or even your drinks with this special herb. Number 3 on our list, cruciferous vegetables. These vegetables, like broccoli, cabbage, and Brussels sprouts, are rich in glutathione, a powerful antioxidant, and 3 servings of these veggies per week can lower your risk of developing prostate cancer by about 45%. Cruciferous veggies also contain chemicals which aid the body in purging excess estrogen and thus help to lower the risk of breast cancer. Number 2, leafy greens. Leafy greens like spinach, kale, and arugula are rich in helpful minerals, vitamins, and most importantly, cancer-fighting antioxidants like beta-carotene. They also contain glucosinolates, which have been shown to prevent cancer cell growth. Number 1 on our list is garlic. For thousands of years, garlic has been used not just as a food ingredient, but also as a medicine. Garlic contains sulfur compounds, which can aid your immune system in fighting cancer. Garlic has been shown to prevent the growth of certain types of cancers, namely cancers related to the digestive system, like stomach cancer. Any of these foods, eaten on a regular basis, will give you powerful weapons in your anti-cancer arsenal. I am not here to tell you to not undergo conventional treatments, like chemotherapy, radiation, surgery, or immunotherapy. I am telling you that diet and lifestyle play a huge role in our development of cancer, and I will do any diet that can help me prevent from having to go through chemotherapy again. Eating an organic diet will limit your exposure to xenoestrogens and phytoestrogens that can increase the risk for breast, endometrial, ovarian, and prostate cancers. These problematic forms of cancers are related to excess estrogen. Xenoestrogens are artificial compounds found in pesticides, herbicides, milk from cows on hormones, birth control pills, and hormone replacement therapy. Phytoestrogens are estrogens found in plants like soy, grains, and flax. Our fat produces a substance called aromatase that converts testosterone to estrogen. This enzyme increases its activity when we are obese and increases our levels of estrogen. The only way to cut back the levels of aromatase is to lose the extra fat through diet and exercise. Now let's hear more from Carol about how she's using food to fight cancer.
Before I got this news, this diagnosis, I was what they call a foodie. I'm sure you've heard of that. And I love to cook, and I love to share food with people. So I was eating a lot of organic food, there's no doubt about it, but I was also eating a lot of sugar. I love ice cream. I would say that's my absolute ultimate favorite dessert in the world. So not that I was being, piggy about it, but hey, when summertime rolls around, I'm having a lot of frozen yogurts and things like that. And once we got that diagnosis and that the medical world only offers up the chemo and the radiation, I knew that was something that I wasn't going to do. And what changed for me is that I immediately stopped the dairy. I stopped all sugar. I stopped all the gluten products. I stopped anything that came out of a package. As a matter of fact, been going through my cabinets still and just getting rid of anything that comes in a box. So I immediately upped my juice intake. I immediately started reading and researching, what was on the web also. And there are wonderful, wonderful people who have lots of information to offer up. So I started following a lot of that. Just juicing, raw, and that's what I've been doing so far. So I'm still in process with all of that a little bit, but I can tell you that right now, while I'm healing from my hysterectomy surgery, I've added a little bit more wild salmon, pasture-raised eggs. I also am drinking a lot of teas. In between my meals, I put teas that are very beneficial, and that's been proven. So I'm doing that a lot of green drinks, a lot of salads, a lot of sprouts. Sprouts are huge because sprouts have every enzyme that we need in our body to help us digest our food properly. When you when you eat that much green, you feel good. You feel good. My body is taking all the good stuff that it needs and it's eliminating everything that it doesn't need. So I'm probably in the best shape of my life, as a matter of fact, and I feel very optimistic indeed, yeah.
Cancer is such a big, scary word, right? But cancer isn't the problem. Cancer is just the symptom. We think that many times we get diagnosed with cancer and then we become sick, but it's actually the other way around. We become sick, right, for years and years and years, and then we get cancer.
By now we know that obesity can cause low-level chronic inflammation, and chronic inflammation is a major risk factor for cancer. Studies suggest that higher amounts of body fat are associated with increased risk for several forms of cancer. So knowing the many dangers of processed sugars and processed animal fats, wouldn't it make sense for us to avoid these foods?
In traditional medicine, we've developed a system that's primarily about destroying tumors, and this comes about all the way back kind of from germ theory and Louis Pasteur, where we try and destroy the bug or destroy the dysfunctional part of the body. But to really try and get to the root and avoid over-destruction, we can do many other things to help with cancer, such as work on it nutritionally, work on our detoxification and our toxic exposures. There's many supplements that have been validated in the literature to be supportive.
Our body has such a great wisdom inside of it that when we eat an apple, it turns into a fingernail or an eyeball or a hair or a heart cell or a stomach cell. So the food that we eat literally makes us. And so with all the information out there, again, it surprises me that people aren't taking more of an action with their food.
A diet full of vegetables, high-quality fats, seasonal fruits, grass-fed meats high in omega-3 fatty acids, and plenty of clean water is a key part to preventing cancer. These foods are full of anti-inflammatory omega-3 fatty acids, beneficial phytonutrients specific to each plant type, medium-chain fatty acids, as well as quality protein. Eating a diet high in cruciferous vegetables like broccoli, cauliflower, kale, mustard greens, Brussels sprouts, and other cruciferous vegetables are great for helping get rid of the estrogens present. Lightly steam or eat these veggies raw to keep the beneficial properties of this group of superfoods. Also, eat them organic. Otherwise, the xenoestrogen sprays will cancel out many of the benefits. Eating a variety of different colored vegetables, along with quality fats and proteins, are the ideal way to manage your cancer risk and even increase your chances of survival once diagnosed.
The longest survivor with cancer of the pancreas I ever had was 18 months. They presented a guy with a ping pong ball of cancer in his pancreas 14 years by just eating a paleo diet, essentially. The presenter had had brain cancer, very aggressive kind of brain cancer, for 12 years. Not bad. You know, it usually kills people in 6 months. So nutrition is a huge factor.
So I had a patient who was 72 years old at the time, and she had had a case of cancer previously, and at the time she decided she did want to do radiation. And so the kidney cancer cleared, but then it came back a year later. And her doctor had recommended, well, you could either do chemo or radiation again, which she didn't want to do because she had quite a time with the radiation the time before. And so he fired her and said, well, if you're not going to take my recommendation, then I don't want to work with you and prepare to die. And so she called me wondering, well, what kind of options do I have? And she was really open about what her lifestyle was. You know, she had smoked, and I said, well, the very first thing you got to do is you have to stop smoking. And so she did. She stopped smoking, and she was really heavy on meat and potatoes type of diet and chips, and she stopped all of that and she started juicing. So she started making vegetable juices and having fresh vegetable and fruit smoothies, and she started exercising, and she started losing weight, and she started getting more energy, and she started feeling really good. And then about a year or so later, she went back to get another scan. Her whole body was free of any signs of cancer, and that was from just living a really healthy life, exercising, eating the right foods. And I just recently talked to her. She is now 79 and alive and well.
Yes, in many cases, we will not be able to avoid a cancer diagnosis. However, there are still concrete steps we can take for protecting and aiding our bodies in healing. Get some sun, get some exercise, get the wrong foods out of your kitchen, and get the right nutrients into your everyday diet. Of course, you should always listen to your doctor when it comes to finding the best possible cancer treatment. But also remember, let food be thy medicine.
Our diets need to be focused on feeding the cells. It's all about the mitochondria, the little energy factory in every single cell. And when we address every single cell as if it was the last cell that we have, and we know that we are feeding that mitochondria, giving it a ton of green to eat, then we're going to start seeing things change.
Coming up next time on Food, Health, and You.
Just like sending the armies to the 3rd and 4th tour in Vietnam, same with your immune system. You keep sending it out to a 5th and 6th tour of duty, it's going to go nuts.
Our own immune system recognizes a part of our body as though it was a foreign invader.
The fatigue is ridiculous. Your legs feel like they each are 300 pounds.
I got sick at 23, and my world became very much like this.
So we need to go back to what Hippocrates said. Let food be thy medicine, and medicine be thy food.
Hi, I'm Dr. Carl Bamlet, and I want to thank you for watching this episode. Now, it's crucial for your health and your family's health that you take action and integrate these important nutritional enhancements into your life right away. And to make this as easy as possible for you, I have created a complete implementation system that is designed to make this process faster and easier so that you can greatly improve your health and well-being and that of your family. The Food, Health, and You Complete Implementation System is your key to achieving those goals that might have seemed impossible, such as losing weight, living longer, and even preventing and reversing disease. What we're offering is huge, so I want to show you exactly what you will be getting in this system if you join us today. You will receive the full 8 episodes of this series without adverts, plus 4 bonus never seen before episodes to start your journey to better health and wellness today. These 4 bonus episodes are incredibly important, and what you will learn may go against everything you've been conditioned to think about food and your health. In fact, These 4 bonus episodes are so controversial that we will never be able to release them to the general public. But these bonus episodes are only a small part of the full package you'll receive if you join today. You will also receive a companion guide for every single episode. These companion guides will accelerate and consolidate your learning, allowing you to make these important improvements to your own health and your family's health faster than everyone else. And you'll be able to do this much faster than those who made the choice to go it alone, instead of investing in their health and their future with the full Food, Health, and You complete implementation system. Now, I know how busy life can get, particularly at mealtimes. So I've included a comprehensive collection of my favorite recipes into a book I call the Food, Health, and You Transformational Cookbook. If you follow this cookbook, I can guarantee that you will find it effortless to nutritionally enhance your meals while keeping them tasty, simple to cook, and family friendly. Finally, I've included something I like to call my super bonus book, the top 77 superfoods for healing. This book will make it as easy as possible to choose the right foods that are scientifically proven to fast track your healing, no matter what the condition might be. In fact, there is so much jam-packed into this 50-page book, it's insane. As you can see, I've made sure that my team and I have put together a complete system that I believe is really your best chance of success. If you choose to take that important first step today, you will be able to secure not only your own health, but the health of your children and the health of your extended friends and family. I strongly recommend you click the link below, where you'll be taken to a page where you can join me and the rapidly growing movement towards better health and wellness. Start your transformation today. This special offer is closing shortly, so make sure that you order the Food, Health, and You Complete Implementation System before it's too late. Join us in our movement towards consuming less processed foods and for better health and well-being.